What is going on, everyone? My name is Paulie Pipes, and I'm going to do something different. What is different, that you ask? Well, you get to listen to me talk about an amazing action-adventure game, A Plague Tale Requiem. This is a sequel to Plague Tale Innocense that's done right, and is every compliment to the whole series. The game takes place 6 months following the events of the first game, with the protagonist Amicia along with her little brother Hugo, and their friend Lucas and the mom, Beatrice de Rune. Everything starts off peaceful. You think the plague is over. They play hide and seek until a turn of events. Amicia and Hugo travel far south to new regions and cities. So let's go over a brief summary of the game. So each chapter is roughly about 30 to 45 minutes long, and the story keeps you engaged. It's divided into about 16 chapters. There's not that much side content and not too many collectibles, which I love because not every game needs thousands of collectibles where you end up feeling that you have to do chores. Pretty much like every single Ubisoft games. And I love the fact that there was no HUD in the game at all. You have to use your eyes and figure out where to go. The stealth approach in this game was fantastic. It didn't have all these icons overwhelming you, so you were all looking around and couldn't find out exactly where you were going. So let's go over the characters and talk about what I loved and what I didn't really care for much. So let's start off with the main protagonist. Amicia, I felt like they wrote her character brilliant. This is how you write a good female protagonist. She felt human, she had vulnerabilities, she accepted help, admitted her mistakes. Her emotions you could feel when she was killing enemies, and the frustration she had after seeing her brother suffer so much anguish and stress with all the pressure he's dealing with, not living a life like a normal little kid. You can see how much anger she had, but then she actually ended up, making amends to that and realizing her faults. And then you got poor Hugo. This poor kid was chasing a destiny which he felt would have gave him all the answers of Immaculate inside him. While he was carrying it, what he could change or go in order to stop the plague from spreading. But was met with more death and destruction the further he pushed. Hugo was just a kid who wanted to live and experience a childhood like any other normal kid, but then realizes at the end that he was the problem. So it's a great story that actually talks a lot about sacrifice. There's no happy ending here. It actually feels very realistic, and that's what I really loved. The side characters, you had Lucas. He was mostly more in the beginning of the game, and then you had Beatrice, the mom, which I loved, but the fact that she wanted Hugo to be healed by the Order was kind of ridiculous. So I loved the separation, though, in the whole dynamic of the argument, because it made the whole story make more sense and the reason why they had to escape and go on their own. And then you had some cool other side characters like Anard. I thought he was a badass. We won't get too much into the characters, but then you had Sophia. She was a friend of Anard, and she was a pirate that helped pretty much support Amicia and Hugo along their trip. She didn't really have that many character qualities just besides being positive. So let's talk about what's very important to me in video games, the combat mechanics. And I gotta say, this game does it right. So a great example would be, look at this knight I'm fighting here. He's like a mini boss. And you actually gotta be pretty unique in going about how you attack your enemies. You got a slingshot, you got the pots, and you got your crossbow, which you actually ended up by loving using that. You can make a lot of different pots if you want. You got fire pots, smoke pots. What do you call those other pots? They're like firework pots. You got sludge pots, not sludge pots, freaking mud. And you can actually just make the enemies stuck and throw a slingshot or throw a freaking pebble at their head and knock them out. Then see what I was doing there. You can actually hit those pockets of, I'll just say flour, but they're not flour. It's like a smoke bomb pretty much, but it's not going to do anything. Obviously, he has helmet on, but you get rewarded the way you play, which is actually a really awesome addition they made to this. The first game didn't have this. You have this table, and it rewards you if you play aggressive. So it's divided into 3 categories. It's prudence, aggressive, and opportunist. So let me start that over because I was making you guys confused. And it rewards you how you play. It's very refreshing. So if I kind of just went in here, decided to not use really stealth, but just ran around in circles like I'm doing right here and trying to just get this dude to like bait him into the corner, and then snatches. He's got like a harness, so you got to sling the slingshot on his back. But if you do that to more enemies and just go about killing them really fast, you get aggressive points, and then it makes you have more bonus. Your health goes up. You don't die in one hit, because usually Amicia would just get killed in one hit. Regardless, she gets captured. So I love the animal. And you gotta be pretty crafty with your attacks. You got Ignifer, smoke, slingshots. But you can actually change in the menu system is really quick. They added it. It's really nice. It's not like you have to keep hitting the start button. It's kind of like The Last of Us. I always say, like, I love stealth games, but I haven't really played a great stealth game in a long time. Probably since like Splinter Cell. A really awesome thing they really did too was that you gotta, like what I said, when there's no HUD, you gotta really pay attention to your surroundings. So you can actually make your path light. You can extinguish the fire, or you can make it so enemies get attacked and bait them into an area so the rats can actually eat them up. And I like the fact that you have a safe space. Pretty much the fire, any wood of any burning stick or a torch or a light post. But sometimes you need to extinguish the flame to take out enemies with rats. And a different thing they added in this with Hugo was you can actually control rats, which is a new feature in killing your enemies. It wasn't cheesy, but you can actually cheese it sometimes and go over the limit, because sometimes there's some levels like you're like, wow, how am I gonna get past this castle of guards without using Hugo to actually control these rats and eat? And then like the sound effects. They do a great job with the sound effects, especially when someone's getting eaten alive by rats. I could not imagine that. And even Amicia, you can tell like the struggle in her voice when she's done killing people or anybody. She's got a lot of anger. So that being said, I really love what they did with the combat. The environment is really beautiful in this game. You got a canyon right here, castles, into like lush forests. Then you get a beautiful island, a church. You got underground, not even bunkers. What are they called? Underground tombs and crazy looking cathedrals. And it's the lore is really heavy in this game. And basically, you're finding out that there's not just you, Amicia, and Hugo, but there was not really your ancestors, but there was Basilius and Aelia, who were pretty much the older versions of Amicia and Hugo. And they were a carrier and a protector, and then you learn more about their backstory, which is, I thought it was an actually pretty cool touch to the game that I was not expecting. You learn about their storyline as you progress with the story. Now, spoiler warning. I'm not going to share a lot of it, but this is your warning. I enjoyed how bold the ending was. Most sequels cannot do original stories justice, but this one did. The ending felt very realistic and raw. A main character ends up losing their life, and you feel the sense of loss at the end. Amicia and Hugo end up learning about Aelia and Basilius, which, as I was talking about, was the protector and the carrier, which is pretty much like their ancestors, but not really. And their fate was dreadful, and you end up learning about that and what the Order did to Basilius to contain the plague. And then Anard sacrificing his life at the end in order for Amicia to find Hugo near the end was badass. I really liked the way that he ended his character. Hugo was basically destroying cities and killing millions of people because at the end he actually gave in to the Immaculate, thinking that Amicia was dead because the Count killed her, but he actually knocked her out. So the only way to solve the issue was Amicia had to come to terms with killing Hugo, which was a really satisfying ending in a way. It didn't feel like happy-go-lucky. It made sense, because it wouldn't make sense keeping him alive if this curse is just going on forever. You got this sequel and then the prequel, the previous game. And everything was tied to Hugo, and Count wanted to use Hugo. He actually believed he was a god and wanted to use him to actually take over cities and conquer countries with Hugo. So he thought he was doing him a favor by killing Beatrice. So they did really good justice with this game's ending. So that being said, a few complaints. The few complaints I have were not too major. The negatives are the frame rate drops. I noticed that sometimes if there's little hiccups, especially if there's a lot going on, especially with the fire or the smoke, there can be some frame rate drops. And also, I don't like the you get a dagger. You don't get a dagger. It's like a shiv, kind of like in The Last of Us. But I kind of wish that you were able to use it, unlock it, and actually upgrade it a little bit. You would kind of just use it, and that was it. So, that being said, I give this game, my rating score for this game is going to be probably an 8.8. Not perfect, but it's got a lot of awesome... You know what? No, I'm not going to take that back. This game deserves a 9.5. The story, the music, the characters, the writing, the setting, the combat was flawless. It didn't go in different ways where it made it so like it was getting too much one way. It made it unique. You didn't get bored of it. It didn't get repetitive. If that makes sense. I'm not even making any sense right now, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment below. This is the first time I'm doing a review video on my channel, so I hope I can do more of these. This is, you know what? Be as harsh as you want, because I gotta learn, because there's a lot of sound audio problems. I'm trying my best to make this video come out the best as can. It's driving me insane. So I hope you guys liked it, and I hope you guys try this game out, because you definitely should. But if you didn't play the first one, play the first one first. And I hope I didn't spoil enough, but I'm gonna have a timestamp for that. So don't watch the spoilers. All right, guys. Have a good night. Peace.